What happens when you're an entrepreneur building a business that doesn't align with your life? Now, maybe you've been here before, or perhaps you might be building that business right now that is not aligned with who you're meant to become as an entrepreneur. Welcome to the Level Up Business Podcast. I'm J.R. Lay, and today I'd like to introduce you to Nick Bennett. Nick is a co-founder at Duo, which is an offer design consultancy that has helped 100 plus solopreneurs standardize, market, and sell their consulting offers. And in our conversation today, Nick and I dive into why separating work and life is a myth, along with what it really takes to make a compelling offer that cuts through the noise. You'll also hear how Nick is reshaping the publishing game and why journaling every night can give you back your clarity and confidence as an entrepreneur. So whether you're a founder designing your second act or you're just tired of chasing everyone else's blueprint, this conversation with Nick will help you come home to yourself and start writing a new chapter, perhaps even a new book for both your business and your life. But first, speaking about writing a new book, I have a question for you. Are you a visionary entrepreneur who wants to elevate your brand and expand your influence to increase your impact? If this is you, you're the reason that we're on a mission to amplify the voices of visionary entrepreneurs by unlocking their wisdom, sharing their stories, and publishing their books. So when you're ready to level up your business and your life, send me a text, 832-240-1922. That's because I want to teach you how you can amplify your voice so that your mission and message are seen, known, and heard by those who need your help the most. Now, let's get ready to learn. Let's get ready to grow. Let's get ready to level up together with Nick Bennett. Nick, man, welcome to the show. I'm so happy to unpack your wisdom together today to help others level up. It's good to have you here.
So, man, it's good to see you.
It's good to be seen. And before we get too far into something that I know you're really passionate about, this idea of what you've been writing, Plant Your Flag. And I love your LinkedIn profile. You've got the Jolly Roger. And I've always wanted to ask you why, like what's the story behind that? Before we get into that, what is good for you? Give me some good news to start off on a positive note.
What's good for me? Oh, man.
Personally or professionally or both?
It's a beautiful day. Feeling good. The kids are healthy. Like everyone's happy. Life is good, man. Business is good. Like I got nothing to complain about. Life is good.
I talked to a lot of entrepreneurs on this podcast, and every single one of them has been on a different journey. There are common patterns that I see, but how did you get to this point? Because you've recently announced some big news with a collaboration and merging of two brains together to do even bigger, better things. Take us back on your entrepreneurial journey because once again, it's a unique path.
It sure is. I think we've all been lied to, in my personal opinion, that there's like the perfect way to build your business. And turns out that there's an unlimited number of routes. There's an unlimited ways to do it. And I'm really passionate about this idea that like, you scroll LinkedIn and you see how everyone says like, you got to do this, you got to do that. Like there's a collective conventional business wisdom, and all the dumbest ideas tend to be the loudest and most engaged ones for some reason. And it's like very generic bullshit. And I just don't think it doesn't apply. And there's a lot more nuance to it. And I think the more people that realize that there are an unlimited number of ways to build your own business and live your life and build your life, like the easier and the more pleasant and joyful your life becomes.
I like the point, and I'm glad you called this out. We've been lied to, but you're talking about business and life here. To build your business and to build your life. I mean, when I think about like level up business, it's to level up your mind, level up your marketing, level up your sales so that you can level up your business and your life. Why have we been lied to? And maybe what is the lie that a lot of people have bought that I'm starting to see people pushing back on a little bit now, more so than ever before?
The lie, in my opinion, is that business and life are separate things. right? People always say, I want to balance my work life. And business is deeply personal. If anyone who says otherwise, he was full of shit. Business is deeply personal. And the fact that people try to balance their work life with their life, to me, is the complete wrong approach. It's like, it's all life, and you have the choice. You either design the life you want, or it gets designed for you.
Whenever I was thinking about my business life as an entrepreneur, and I've been an entrepreneur for 23 years at this point, and I was thinking about my personal life. And if I go back to 2012, October 4th, that's when my wife said it's the family or the business. And I was a jerk. There's just put it plain and simple. But I was thinking about my life in two different areas. And it was like, I was an entrepreneur, I was a husband, I was a new father, and I was really good at being an entrepreneur. I was not excelling in the other two areas of my life because I was over indexing on the one. And then
Same, dude.
my health on top of that. Like we have all of these different dimensions, and the way that I'm thinking about this is you have the spiritual, you have the mental, you have the physical, you have the relational, you have the financial. And for me, I was over indexing on the financial, thinking that once I got that, then I could get all of these other things. And so I got the financial, but then I was completely like bankrupt in all of these other areas of my life, and I was not happy. I was a jerk. I was struggling with addictions, and then my wife says she's going to leave me. And fortunately, we were able to work through all of that and get to the other side and learned a lot about myself. But it's like that idea of the work-life balance, to me, you're right. Business is extremely personal. How did we get to that point? How do we get here and now we're going somewhere else? Because I'm seeing these patterns on the podcast.
I don't know how we got here. I mean, I think there's a lot of conventional wisdom and existing mental scaffolding. That is, you punch a clock at 9 and you punch out again at 5. And when you're there, you're someone else. And when you're home,
So you're a liar.
Maybe. Or you just like, they're just separate things. And maybe at one point in life that was true. When you had to leave your house and go and fucking rivet cars together on an assembly line, or do something like to go to an office, and you could only type on your keyboard there and you couldn't do it in your house. Maybe at some point there was that, but when you left work, you couldn't work. So the balance was set for you. Either way, now like the majority of people I know work out of their home.
I think that's the key. When you left work, you left your environment, you went to another environment, and then you came back into the environment that you left. It's like, But now, COVID was the big shift. We all were working out of the house, and then we're like, wait a minute. I am the two most powerful words in the universe. I am who I am. But then I go and I try to be someone else, and that's where I think the confusion and the friction and the frustration and the conflict starts to seep in, and then we're all completely out of whack versus when we start to reconnect with who we really are as individuals, and we start looking to, well, who do I want to invest my time with? Who do I want to share my time with? Whether that's another team member and or who I'm creating value or co-creating value with. I'm very interested in this subject because, like, it does come down to, there are massive shifts that are happening. I'm actually asking people that I'm connecting with on LinkedIn. There's a lot changing. There's a lot shifting. Can you feel it right now? And it's interesting how that one question, can you feel it, is opening up an entirely new conversations that I don't think people would have been open to having 3, 4, 5 years ago. But what shifts are you seeing on this front of things are changing? Can you feel it?
Yeah. I mean, 100%. I think when I talk to people, the mass exodus from W-2 full-time work is happening. In large part, a lot of it has happened. I think the highest performers have already jumped. They saw the opportunity and they're like, why the hell would I ever work for somebody else ever again? The scale and maturity of the internet, especially places like LinkedIn, enable people to design their own life. And as time goes on, we'll see that take hold over every layer of the org chart. Like and I don't mean this to sound bad, but it's like as you go down the org chart into more entry level employees and less, less and less, expertise or less and less professional experience, it's going to open up opportunities for people across the board. So yeah, can you feel it? 100%. The majority of people I know would much rather, even if it looks and feels and sounds like having 4 or 5 part-time jobs, but you get to pick and choose who you work for and like find those clients and do the work that you want to do versus having one full-time job. It's all like they would much rather do it. So yeah, do I feel the shift? 100%.
I think it's work for, but also work with, collaborate with, co-create with. And the idea, even as an entrepreneur, I've been seeing the shift myself within myself, because it's like, wait, I mean, I launched Level Up Business out of frustration from another business that I had, because I was not enjoying who I was working with from a client standpoint. They were draining, they were exhausting, and it's like now it's working with these other entrepreneurs. I'm having more fun and more excitement. And it's like, because I never designed really, truly, my other business, I never really, truly designed it with intention. It was designed around one thing, which was make a lot of money.
Make money. Yeah.
That was it. And now Level Up Business is being like, we've got these virtues, which are values. And it's like, I've never had that before. And I'm operating differently with that. People are coming into my life differently because of that. I think I was listening to a podcast recently from Dan Sullivan talking about these entrepreneurial traits. Entrepreneurs would prefer freedom over security. And I think that's me. Like, it's one of the reasons it's like I never really had a W-2. I was 20 years old when I started this. I was in college. I was playing in a punk rock band. I was waiting tables. Like I've never really had quote unquote security, but I've had a lot of freedom. And that's, that freedom versus security. Like, I've also had a lot of mental, not challenges is not the right word. I've had to grow mentally in ways I don't think, the mental fortitude, mastering the mind, mastering the insecurities, mastering the imposter syndrome, mastering the chatter and the self-doubt. Like, that has been something that has been a continuous journey for me. And I think that's a good segue into like where your perspective is, where your wisdom is about planting the flag. Like, why is there no better time than now for entrepreneurs and solopreneurs, a whole new field of work, which I actually asked someone the other day. I was like, have you ever considered solopreneurship? And they're like, I've never heard of that. What's that? And I was like, well, would you be open to hopping on a 15-minute phone call and let's just talk about what that is? And they were like, absolutely. And then I asked the question, who do you want to be? Like who are you becoming? And it was such a side question that I didn't think. And then right after we got off the call, maybe 15 minutes later, they're like, you just asked me a question that opened up my mind in whole new ways. And they're probably in their mid-50s at this point. And I was like, who do you want to be? Who are you becoming? Not who you've been or who you are. It's who do you want to be? So why is now there no better time for entrepreneurs to plant the flag? And what does that mean? Because that's a big part of your wisdom.
Well, there's like 7 things in here that are like worth unpacking.
Well, let's roll back.
So who you want to be. I mean, my mom always jokes. She's like, I don't know what I want to be when I grow up. Right? Like, I don't think any of us, or very few people, spend the time to figure out who they really want to be or what they really want to do or where they really want to go. Not like a forever decision, but a for now decision. What am I really trying to do here? There's an immense amount of power in that clarity. Mm-hmm. When you wake up every day and you're like, I know exactly what I'm trying to do here.
How many people do you think, and maybe they might even be entrepreneurs, solopreneurs, that are walking around and they're not able to articulate what that is? Like, I just turned 44. I know exactly the game I'm playing for the next decade of my life, because I do play a game in decades. I've found that when I play in a decade, it's not a forever, it's a for now. It's for the next decade, and I can iterate within the constraints, but it's like, I do have extreme clarity there.
I love the Cal Newport approach to this. Who's like, measure your work and your worth and your everything in like, years and decades instead of like, days and weeks or even weeks and months. So I do like that. I think it's, I don't care how people do it, and I don't really necessarily have a vested interest in people doing it, but I do believe that this is a major contributor. And up until recently, myself included, like, I think a lot of people are just kind of bebopping along from client to client. Mm-hmm. And kind of going from day to day or week to week. And like, I don't expect people to plan out, and myself included, like, you can it's not to plan out your life until you die, right? It's just
Right.
to plan to have a set of goals, and the goals may be partly financial, but also just like, who do you want to be? What kind of life do you want to have? And then design it. Like, you get to decide versus being a passenger in your own life. So the idea of plant your flag, I mean, it's evolved over time. It was originally just this simple idea, like, be known for something, plant your flag in it. Like, that was my original premise. I started selling to marketing agencies, and the biggest problem facing marketing agencies was no one knew who the hell they were or what the hell they did or why it mattered or any of this stuff. So the easiest way to build an agency would to be plant your flag in a problem, in an idea, become known for that, the problem you solve, and tether yourself to an area of expertise. Right? It was like the concept, but it's become, or it's like grown into a much more like all-encompassing philosophy.
The Jolly Roger. Where did that come from on LinkedIn? Because once again, I think about, it was an idea and it came into your mind, and now it's become a philosophy. And I appreciate this because it's a deeper, it's coming from within you. It's like a truth. So the Jolly Roger flag, it's like, I think about the F-14 Tomcats, and they used to fly the pirates used to fly the Jolly Roger flag.
Flag has. So I am a student of the category Pirates, and Christopher Lochhead has taught me a lot just from reading his stuff, reading his books, reading his Substack publication, and I've learned a lot from them. And I had this idea in my head, like the idea of planting your flag was independent of it, and I tried to use different flags just as like a visual representation of this thing. But I learned a lot from them, especially when I was starting my own business. And one of the things, I've joined their programs, and I've since spent a decent amount of time talking with them and continue to learn a lot from them. I'm like forever grateful and endlessly inspired by them and their work. And with the stuff that I learned from them, like I was able to close, I credit a lot of like the early days of my work and the first clients I closed to a lot of the stuff that I learned from them. And so earning that pirate flag, earning the ability to fly that flag, and since being like, I'm like humbled and by the fact that they even consider me like having on their podcast and mentioning my work in their many books means a lot to me. And so like earning the right to fly that flag is like really important to me. And so there's like a little tiny community of people who, it's like a sign that's like, at least to me, I think if people are flying the Jolly Roger, they generally tend to think a certain way, and you kind of know like there's a group of people there that have a similar outlook on business and the world.
Yes. No, I appreciate that, because it really, to me, like when I saw that and you connect the resonance to, plant your flag, it's like, I get that. I like that. And you and I had been connecting back and forth, and we had a lot of, LinkedIn DMs, and finally we're having like a real conversation. We connected recently on the phone just to chat, but here we are. And I guess that's a question then is, who are you, Nick? Who are you becoming? As I like to ask a lot of people.
I'm just a dude. Who am I becoming? Oh, dude, I wasn't ready for this conversation today. I think that's a work in progress, man.
Yeah.
It really is. Like I'm trying to build a business just like everybody else. I'm trying to figure out my own route just like everybody else. I'm trying to be a present and engaged father just like everybody else, and a present and engaged husband just like everybody else. And so I think just understanding that these things take effort. You have to be an active participant in your own life, and you have to try really hard to be that thing. It's not like, I liken it to, when you start dating someone, it's been a while, but like if you could think back to when you dated someone for the first time, it was like really easy. There's a lot of lust in that life.
Yeah. And
it's kind of just easy to just like, for things to flow. And it's not that the flow stops, but like when I think you mentioned you've been with your wife 20 years. Like
Yep.
I've been with my wife for almost 10. We've been married for 4. And it's like, it's not that these things, that flow stops, but you have to try. Like you have to participate a lot. It's easy to end up and look up and realize like you have a bunch of roommates and not a family if you're not trying really hard. I'll give you an example. When I first started my business, I tried to work a lot. I think that might resonate, right? Working a lot. And I tried to just like figure it out. I had no idea what I was doing. And I mean, to the point where like my first client said yes to me, and I didn't have a way to take their payment because I was like, I got to do all these things. I was like, I'm not going to spend my time trying to figure out all this other shit.
Yeah.
I got to go get a client. And I went and got a client, and he was like, cool, I'm ready to go. And I was like, oh, I got to like set up a payment system. Like that's the type of thing that we're doing here. So you spend a lot of time trying to build this business and try to get things going. And one day my wife said to me, she was like, the answers you're looking for are not in your screen. She gave me a lot of space and a lot of grace to figure it out. She works full time for both our boys. She's with our kids full time. So like the work I do allows, like we're blessed that that's an option in our life because of the work that I get to do. Mm-hmm. So all that to say, it's kind of like a very tangent here, but I think the idea is like one day the day that she said that to me, I was like, oh, like I'm over rotated on the wrong stuff. Like I'm not very present. I'm not trying really hard to be present and engaged in my life. Yeah. And I let that one side take over. And there was that moment when I was like, oh, like creating the space between you and whatever the thing you're trying to do, whether it's work or learn to play the piano, like whatever it is, like create a little bit of space in your life. And it's remarkable how much progress you make.
It's the white space. And I think I want to roll back on what your wife shared with you, and I'll paraphrase. The answers you're looking for, you're not going to find them on a screen. And for me, my wife was telling me the same thing. You're not going to find them on a screen. You're not going to find them in a book. Like, when was the last time that you just sat with yourself, you sat with your own thoughts, you just quieted everything. You got a pen, you got a piece of paper, and you just started writing. I think that's where I probably started getting some of my biggest breakthroughs was in the quiet. Ryan Holiday, Audrey just posted something on LinkedIn. She just finished the book, Stillness is the Key, from Ryan Holiday. And we live these busy, over-indexed lives that we don't have any margin, we don't have any white space, and then we end up kind of, life just happens. Back to your point with the relationships, and I love your perspective on intention. My wife and I, married almost 20 years, together 25, and we had a real heart-to-heart this summer of like, we gotta start getting back on the dating thing, because, and it's like since that time, and I've been writing them down now for almost 10 weeks, I believe. Every single week we've done something, and it can't be the same thing. We can't go eat at the same places, do the same things that we've always done, because then you get into the rote, you get into the repeatable, and you're like, oh, before you know it, you're doing the same thing. Have you ever read Outwitting the Devil by Napoleon Hill?
No.
Napoleon Hill writes in Outwitting the Devil, and a lot of them know him for Think and Grow Rich, but like the drifting, he calls them the drifters in Outwitting the Devil. It's like so many people just drift. They just end up drifting through life. There's no intention.
You're a passenger in your own life.
Yes. And so you've taken the wheel. You're plotting the course. You're working together. And then I think about the work that you're doing. You're helping, these entrepreneurs plant their flag. But one of the most challenging questions, and this is on your LinkedIn profile, that I've had been asked, and I really resonated with me, and I think for those listening to this podcast would probably resonate with, when you get asked the question, what exactly do you do? What exactly do you do? It's taken me a long time to figure out how to answer that question succinctly myself, and then to have other people understand on the other end. Why is that such a hard question?
Because no one really thinks much about it. Right? I am of the belief, and just from my observations in life, right? Like when you look around, people will tell you all about the things they can do, right? It's like the Cheesecake Factory metaphor when you look at, especially in professional services, which is where I grew up in, right? Like agency services or anyone offering like B2B professional services, even as like a consultant or a coach or whatever. They're all really good at being like, I can do messaging, I can do positioning, I can do demand gen, I can do web design, I can do I can write your copy, they can all tell you all the different things that they can do. Like it's like a Cheesecake Factory menu where there's 1,000 options. They want to roll up like it's McDonald's and a buyer will just place their order. And that's a really shitty place to be as someone who sells their expertise. Because we all know is that if they can just order it off a menu, it's a commodity.
Yeah.
This is like a tale as old as time. This isn't anything necessarily super novel of an idea, but I think the way that people choose to solve it is by doing more stuff or being better, faster, smarter, cheaper than all the other options. And I think that's also a shitty place to be. So it kind of starts with answering what I believe is the most important question in business, or at least one of them, which is like, what problem do you solve?
So reverse engineering.
Well, it's because once you understand the problem, if you market the problem, you become the solution. So you can say the solution can be whatever you want. So it's like, well, what do you do? How do you do it? All of that matters in the context of the problem that you're trying to solve for people. And if you don't have a clear understanding of how to communicate that problem or frame that problem for somebody in a way that they give a shit about, or in a way that makes that problem highly visible to anyone who experiences it, you're fucked.
Yeah.
There's no other way to put it right now.
Hey, it's JR, and I just wanted to take a minute to thank you for tuning into today's conversation. Before we get back to the show, I have a quick question for you. Are you a visionary entrepreneur who wants to elevate your brand and expand your influence to increase your impact? If this is you, you're the reason we're on a mission to amplify the voices of visionary entrepreneurs by unlocking their wisdom, sharing their stories, and publishing their books. So, when you are ready to level up your business and your life, send me a text to 832-240-1922. That's because I want to teach you how to amplify your voice so that your mission and message are seen, known, and heard by those who need your help the most. Now, let's get back to the conversation to continue to learn, to grow, to level up together. I'm curious your take, because we started off on a personal side and now we're starting to navigate to this professional angle. A lack of intention, a lack of time, a lack of focus. So we just, we're a passenger in our own life. We become a passenger perhaps even in our own businesses. Is there a parallel, or is there an intersection here? When you get really clear on the problems you're solving, then you start to get the personal work-life integration. Do you see that ever pop up in your work? Or are they mutually exclusive?
I think because people try to split their personal life from their work life, they try to compartmentalize it so that they can't see from one into the other. But if I were a betting man, I would say that anyone who has these issues in their business have the same issues for their own life design, for like the remaining components of their life, not the other side of their life. Your life is made up of a bunch of all the things that you said, right? There's the business, the relational, the financial, the spiritual. They probably have a similar, there's probably similar friction in their life and shows up in these other places as well. It's the personality trait, right? Yeah. You said, you alluded to this, like journaling and getting these thoughts out of your head and writing and stuff like that has been one of the biggest unlocks for me, even just in the last month.
Talk about that.
The free flow stream of consciousness writing every single day before I go to bed. Some people say do it in the morning. I got 2 small kids. Doing anything in the morning is like, no matter what time you wake up, they'll wake up right after you. I don't care how people are like, oh, do it before they wake up. That they just know. And they want to ruin your morning.
Yeah.
But So I do it right before bed. And it has been, even to work through any idea, anything going on in between my ears whatsoever comes out there. And if it's an idea that's stuck, it breaks free. If it's an idea that doesn't serve me, I can release it. If it's an idea that I've been trying to understand more of, I can work it out. I can aerate it and at least put it down somewhere so that it doesn't preoccupy me, so that I can be more present on conversations like this, on calls with my co-founder, on when I'm sitting there playing blocks with my kids and I'm not staring at my phone, whatever the thing is, right? So that has been one of the biggest unlocks for me. And the main thing there too, and you also alluded to this, is like appreciation and gratitude. This gives me a place to like document the things that are going really well, and it helps reorient you on things in your life that you don't really think about. Like my kid said something hilarious in the tub last night, and that would have been a funny moment, and that would have been it. But like I have this practice in my life now where I get to write it down and remember it, or at least like internalize that moment of what he said and how he said it. And then like I get, and it's not that you want to hang on to these things, but it's like now I have a whole, month's worth of things that brought me joy, that I'm grateful for. And that also changes the way you walk around the world when you have all these when you can look back at all these wonderful things. And it doesn't have to be like, it could be honestly, it's the smallest things. Yeah. It's like he said this silly ass thing that like kids tend to repeat everything you say. He repeated something that we said, or just in a way that we would say it, just like a mannerism. And all of a sudden you start cracking up, because it's just, and like to find joy in gratitude and appreciation in those moments, like those are the little things. And that practice has made a massive difference in the way I show up in life.
Yes, and my wife for years was encouraging me to, in her words, be where your feet are. Because the presence, just to simply be present in the present moment, is the best present that we can present to another human being. Like that perspective was so challenging for me, but the writing and just the download and getting it out of the head, it's a very stoic philosophy. I pulled up a quote from Seneca. Seneca wrote, quote, "I make use of this opportunity, daily pleading my case at my own court. When the light has been taken away and my wife has fallen silent, aware as she is of my habit, I examine my entire day, going through what I have done and said. I conceal nothing from myself. I pass nothing by. I have nothing to fear from my errors when I can say," and he's quoting himself, "see that you do not do this anymore. For the moment, I excuse you." And that daily reflection, you used a word like what went well. And I don't know, can I give you just a very simple framework that I developed for myself and I've been teaching others in their own practice? Because it really, it connects the past, the present, and then also provides perspective towards the future. And it is to ask yourself at the end of the day, what went well today? What was my biggest win? What am I excited about most right now in the present moment as I'm writing through this? What's giving me some level of energy? And it could have been the bath time experience. What did I learn today? And that is oftentimes taking what would have been perceived as a failure and transforming that into a lesson, into an insight. And then the last is, what am I looking forward to most tomorrow? And just going through wins, exciting, learning, and looking, you'll never have a bad day again in your life. And you can do this as a parent with your kids. We've developed this practice with our kids. So now they're always looking for the good, because what you're looking for, it's like your eyes and your ears, they're a filter. So if you're looking for the wins, if you're looking for what went well, you really will never have a bad day again. And then you teach this to your kids, you teach this to your teams, you level up as a family, you level up as a team, you level up with your clients even. It's like, you think about the first question I ask is like, tell me something good. It's like being intentional, like let's start this off on a positive note there. So just a little mental framework to build into your own daily practice as you're wrapping up the day. And then you do it for the week. Then you do it for the month, then you do it for the quarter, then you do it for the year, and it's like a pocket knife, and you just change the context of time from the day all the way up to the course of the year, perhaps even the decade, if we're talking about playing a game in decades. So
there you go.
I want to start to wrap up, but I want to come back to the professional side, and thanks for like weaving in between these two worlds, the personal and the professional, because
It's one world, man.
Like you said, right?
It's one world.
You cannot break them apart. And that was the big insight for me writing Banking on Change. I think whenever I started to really understood, and the writing is where I really understand myself more, which is coming back to your point of the free writing. But the question, one of the hard questions that we get asked, what exactly do you do? We talked about that, but I want to follow that up as to what really makes a compelling offer.
So I see there's multiple components to this, right? Like what makes an offer compelling is probably, in its most simplest terms, it being complete. Like compelling is in the eye of the person with the problem, right? Like if you don't have the problem, it's not a compelling offer. So offers made up of three main ideas, right? The problem you solve, who you solve it for, and how you solve it. We say problem, person, process. That's the offer. Now, compelling is, did you frame the problem well? Do you understand the order of operations here? What is the root problem? Is that a one-time problem? Is that a recurring problem in their life? What are the reasons that problem exists? And what are the ramifications of that problem going unsolved? Do you understand the order here and the way that people think about it? Can you shift the way they think about it? I believe the role of marketing is simple: to make the problem you solve highly visible to everyone who experiences it. So that's what makes the thing compelling. But what I think you're asking, and what most people are trying to ask, is like, well, what makes it, like, differentiation is always a topic of discussion when it comes to offers, because there's a lot of people in very few lines of work. So how do you stand out in this? And so I think there's a pretty simple formula. It is specificity. You want to drill down in the problem, person, process. You want to get so specific that someone else in that line of work, say you're content marketing, there's a ton of content marketing strategists out there. And when you're specific enough, and one or all or multiple of those three areas, someone else in content marketing strategy would look at that and go, no, we don't do that. Right? That's a level of specificity that you need to achieve in order to be different. And also, and oftentimes differentiation is what makes you compelling, right? It's how someone knows to lean in to what you're doing versus what someone else is doing, right? It's specific enough and they feel a deeper connection to it. There's one other side of this equation, which is credibility. No one can take your credibility away from you. Have you helped hundreds of people? Because if you have, I can't say I have unless I actually have. So the longer you've been in business, the more credible you are, right? Hiring anybody in any capacity, I don't care if it's a plumber or a business strategist, it's a risk management purchase. And what you're trying to do is say, how much risk is there in me giving you the money to get to where I'm trying to go? The more credible you are, the more pipes you've fixed, or the more businesses you've helped, the more credible you become. And so we need to leverage credibility. And the problem people face with credibility is they go, oh, well, I've worked at companies like Google and Facebook and blah, blah, and I've worked at all these super ding-dong companies. And hundreds of thousands of people work at all these companies. So a lot of people can say they've worked there. And maybe you had a really great role. And if you were like the CEO of these companies, or a high enough role that it mattered, sure, possibly. But doing a thing one time is not quite the level of credibility that we're going for. We want it to be undeniable. And I'll tell you how I came to this. It was actually quite simple. Early on, I lost the deal. And when I asked him why, he said, Nick, I love what you got going on. I think you could really help me. I like the program. It makes a lot of sense. But there's just not enough proof for me. And I said, oh, like it's a credibility thing. It was just like, he's like, I think it can work for me, but it's too risky. So how do you manage risk for somebody, right? And you increase credibility. That's done through volume. So, and people can't take that away from you. So how do you make it compelling? Like, being highly credible is highly compelling. It's a lot easier to make that decision to work with somebody. Now, if you're new, you don't have that level of credibility. We have to over-rotate on specificity.
Yeah.
In order to manage our own risk, right? Like we're just lopsided. I had to deal with that. And as time goes on, I can be slightly less specific, Still being highly specific helps, even if you are highly credible.
Yes.
But you can take the pressure off of one side of this and leverage how credible you are and how many people, right? The volume of people you've helped. Massive game changer in terms of compelling and credibility and differentiation, helping people make decisions, whether they're a good fit or not. It helps them make a buying decision that will be the right one.
I'm hearing a lot of C's pop up in my mind right now. I hear compelling offer, credibility, consistency, but I also hear like this emotional piece, because if you think about it, people entering into a quote unquote a buying journey, and we know that there's no like specific journey, but there tends to be some sort of confusion, pain, I have a problem, conflict. But then the first step is to get clarity, to then increase their courage, to commit, to then move forward with confidence. A lot of C's floating around in this brain of mine right here, putting together
so I'll give you two more. So the way that I always describe it is that the sale, right? It's either they're considering buying something or they're not, right? So another say if they're considering buying something, the sale is logic will get them into consideration. Emotion will get them across the board, right? This is a pretty standard, like pretty run of the mill idea. But I believe that the sale is you're either going to win or lose this sale on the back of one basic idea: confidence in your competence.
Ooh.
That's it. If they are confident that you are a competent person, that you can take them all the way, there's no reason you would lose that deal.
Yeah.
Obviously, like if they have the problem, if they're the right person, like if all things are equal, confidence in your competence is the difference.
I appreciate that, because I think, and I've talked about this, and we'll continue to talk about this, like confidence as an entrepreneur is the most important thing that you can protect. It's something that I learned from Dan Sullivan, a strategic coach. Like your confidence is everything. And just like over the years, you can kind of see where I've been based upon my level of confidence. But what my confidence historically, not now, historically my confidence was based upon outside evidence. Now my confidence is based upon an internal belief that no one can take away from me. And I think that was the big shift for me as we've really taken our conversation full circle. Your personal and your professional, they're not too separate. Like let's work to bring them together. Let's work to integrate them. As we wrap up, and I want to send someone away who's taken, invested time out of their day to get this far into our conversation. What is one thing that they can do to continuously increase their confidence and their competence to then provide a compelling offer to those that they're creating value for?
It's going to sound very cliche, but it's what I did. And it's when I was early on, I gave the same advice to other people who were early on. There's no substitute for doing the work. And when I say doing the work, right, a lot of people will try to like market their way through to wherever they're trying to go. They'll write content on LinkedIn, they'll produce a podcast, they'll do anything but the work. There's a lot of work that looks like work. Scrolling LinkedIn feels like work, not work. Doing the actual work. And that means like do it for free if you have to. Do something, right? Dave Ramsey always has this saying. It's like a lot of people don't recognize hard work because it's like it's wearing overalls. It's like it's not like they don't recognize the work because it's something they haven't seen before. I totally butchered his saying, but the idea is simple, which is go and get your hands dirty. And if that means do some free work to work out your system, to work out how you communicate ideas, to work out how you get people from A to B, do the work. Because if you've never done it in the way that you're trying to do it, then you will be very low confidence. You're going to second guess every move. You will be very low competence because the idea that you can actually take someone there is going to be low. That's what I had to do. The first few projects they did were free, and then they were $500, and then they were $1,000, and it was a slow burn.
But you're playing a longer term game. Can I add to that thought? Because there was just another idea that came to me as you were sharing this perspective about you got to do the work, and if you got to do it for free. But I also say maybe it's not free. Maybe there's a value exchange in that. And I mean is like you have a capability, someone else has a capability. Perhaps you provide them with your capability in exchange for their capability. So there's an exchange of value. So it's not necessarily free. You're providing something to each other that you could not have otherwise exchanged value for had you not even had the conversation to begin with in the first place.
And let's be clear, like a free work means in this context, like they might not pay you in dollars, but they're going to pay you in feedback. You're going to learn just as much from them. Taking them through the process. This did work. This didn't work. They didn't understand this. This made a difference. This didn't. You're going to learn way more from them than they're probably going to learn from you in a lot of ways, or at least just as much as they're going to learn from you. So don't downplay that. The other element of this is that even if you're way further along, we work with people who are objectively successful, like financially speaking. And when we try to help them create their offers and help them scale, a lot of times they don't see, like they have this gift of abundance, but they don't see the impact of their work, and they don't see how what they're doing is truly special.
Yeah.
How it is very different in how they help people make. Now, look, there's like an air of confidence that you have to have in yourself. I always joke, you don't have to be crazy to do this type of work, but it helps. Mm-hmm. Like you have to have a little bit of that, like whatever it factor. But the fact is, like some people just can't read the label from inside the jar.
Sure.
And so even if you are much further along, having someone point out and say, look, my vantage point, this is other things, like my vantage point is a lot of where the value is created, because I can see into a lot of these different businesses and what people are doing. And I say, I've seen 1,000 content marketing strategists. No one's doing this.
Yeah.
And they go, really? I just thought this was like, everyone does this. This is pretty basic stuff. This is like junior level, whatever. I'm like, no. This is very different and very interesting. And that gets people excited because, again, you can't read the label from inside the jar. So when you're further along, a lot of that confidence and competence comes from being able to ID, like, where are the things that you know and do and the things that you've developed? Like, where's that, all that IP? Like, sometimes someone has to show it to you.
Yes, because we take for granted the gifts that we've been gifted, and when we take for granted the gifts that we've been gifted, we tend to not gift them to others because it's back to your point. It's like, oh, everyone does that. No, that's your gift. Go gift that to the world. Nick, I appreciate you sharing your gifts with us today, your wisdom with us today. If someone wants to continue the conversation that we've started here, what's the best way for them to reach out, connect, say hello to you?
Yeah, we're on LinkedIn. We're always jamming on LinkedIn about all things business, offers, life, solopreneurship. And we also have a Substack now. We host a show called How Solo Scale that drops every Friday. And we just started producing mini books. So our first one just came out, The Recognition Gap, how solopreneurs can build momentum and replace referrals. So really excited for that. Next one's coming out in a couple weeks. So Substack, How Solo Scale is another place to check us out now.
Connect with Nick, learn with Nick, grow with Nick. Nick, thanks so much for sharing your unique wisdom to help us all level up together.
Thanks, man. Good to see you.
Good to see you, buddy. Hey, it's JR. Before we wrap up, I have one more question for you. Are you a visionary entrepreneur who wants to elevate your brand and expand your influence to increase your impact? If this is you, you're the reason we're on a mission to amplify the voices of visionary entrepreneurs by unlocking their wisdom, sharing their stories, and publishing their books. So, when you are ready to level up your business and your life, send me a text to 832-240-1922. That's because I want to teach you to amplify your voice so that your mission and message are seen, known, and heard by those who need your help the most.